Have you ever felt that you just don't quite fit in on YouTube, or that you doubt you're even skilled enough to even be successful, so you hesitate? And believe me, you're not the only one who feels this way, and we know exactly what this silent enemy is and how you can overcome it. Coming up.
Hey, welcome to the Video Creators Podcast presented by vidIQ. You know how you put a lot of time and energy into your YouTube channel for not nearly enough growth? Yep, we get it. We are here today to help you change that.
Hello creators, how are you guys? It's great to see you again for another Video Creators Podcast brought to you by vidIQ, like we do every Monday. Just hanging out, sharing more advanced growth tips and tactics, next level strategy, growing your business, helping you reach more people and change lives. I'm happy to be hanging out with Sam and Ingrid today, two of our strategists here on the team. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good. I need to ask you though, because I just found out that your cast is off. That's a big deal.
It is. I'm awaiting surgery, so that's kind of the downside of the entire thing. But I'm taking advantage of having the cast off. I'm catching up on a lot of video games that I've missed for the past month and a half. But so it's kind of a bittersweet experience. So getting as much as I can in right now before the surgery comes, and I will be stuck in a cast for another couple months.
So you couldn't play video games even in the cast? Because I know your fingers were exposed. That sucks.
My fingers were, but my thumb was held in place. So I couldn't even hold the controller, and I couldn't hold the mouse. I was using my mouse with my left hand, which is just not normal.
You could probably do like Dance Dance Revolution, right? That's all your feet.
I don't know.
I don't know how good of a dancer you are, too.
Good Lord. Good Lord. Is that what we've come to? Oh, my Lord. All right.
Maybe our live stream could be like a Dance Dance Revolution competition with the three of us.
What is wrong with you?
Sam.
Every week, we love to highlight a creator that we've worked with here at Video Creators. And this week, I got to sit down with Nancy Bradshaw, who has a pilot channel all around aviation. And here's a bit of our conversation.
So my channel is called Pilot Nancy because I'm Nancy and I'm a pilot. And my channel is all about aviation, and I share information, inspiration, and motivation for people that are wanting to become pilots. And then I specifically focus on people that want to become pilots as a second career. So in the beginning, when I started 5 years ago, I just wanted to make videos and put them online because first of all, I wanted to help people and make it easier for them to get to where they want to go, to that dream of becoming a pilot, and specifically letting them know that you're not too old, because that's what I ran into a lot. A lot of people were telling me, oh, you're too old. You already have a career. You shouldn't be doing this, blah, blah, blah. So that was the first thing. Then secondly, I really enjoyed editing. So I kind of got into that aspect of it. So I tried to incorporate more vlogs and stuff like that, but I didn't really have a business mindset, especially in those first 3 years. But then in the last 2 years, I did kind of develop a little bit of a business idea with it. So I started a membership called Fly Good Nation, which is specifically for those people that want to become pilots as a second career, and then make that into really a community. So really getting all those people together that are doing this and later in life, and then that they can talk to each other and influence each other and help each other out. So that's kind of what the business part now is morphing into. I did have some merch at some point, but to be honest, this YouTube stuff is obviously next to my flying gig, and the flying gig takes up a lot of time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So I couldn't manage all the things, right? Like you see all these influencers or creators here on YouTube, and they say, I have 17 forms of income. Yeah, I just wasn't able to make that happen.
What are some other kind of struggles you went through along the way with your channel or even recently that you've been kind of working through?
The biggest struggle for me is to really reach people that I want to reach, because my niche is so incredibly specific, right? And in the beginning, first of all, I was trying to reach too many people in the beginning. I was just like, everybody that wants to become a pilot, come look at all this information and stuff that I have on my channel.
Right.
But by trying to reach the masses, it kind of fell flat because I didn't have a good focus of where I wanted to take my channel. And I'm narrowing that in a lot better now. And then I think the biggest struggle that I'm still having is a little bit that, what everybody says is the most important thing when you are a creator, your title and your thumbnail.
Right. What kind of things have you kind of tried to work on that?
So the biggest thing is not to focus as much on SEO. So I really had the blinders on, and like everything needs to be keywords. I need to have like titles that people are actually looking up, right? So how to start flight training or how to study for. So the first thing, specifically if you're a student pilot, right, is you want to go through your flight training efficiently, and you don't want to quit, right? So then make a title that feeds into that emotion, right? Instead of saying here's 5 study tips, I would say then how not to quit or how to get through it fast. And then still give them the study tips, but get titles that grab them in more.
Right.
And that's something that I'm really working on. And then the second thing that I'm trying to focus on is really thinking about the fact that since the niche is so specific, I'm probably not going to grow a 2 million subscribers channel. In the beginning, my brain was really going towards, I want to become this huge YouTuber. And I now have 85,000 subscribers ish, which is an ungodly amount of people if you really think about it.
Yeah.
And I've just decided lately to focus on the people that are already there and the people that really resonate with the content, as opposed to trying to reach the masses, because that just wasn't working as much. I've spent proportionally so much more time on that title, the thumbnail, and the first, like, say 15 to 30 seconds of the video. So much more time that had spent on just that. Yeah. And that totally paid off. And that was really something I needed to learn. And that was really good to see. The last few videos that I made, you kind of hit that kind of like the slump. I don't know if that's a thing, the creator slump, maybe.
Yeah, that's
like
a thing.
You kind of like, yeah, you're just like grinding through the videos and you're just trying and nothing's working, and it's the algorithm. And then now I really did find the joy in it again, specifically because I'm not concentrating anymore on just the algorithm. I'm concentrating on people and finding that I'm not a problem. I'm actually a good thing. I'm part of the thing that's good on my channel. And that was eye-opening to me for some reason. I didn't have that before I went to video creators.
That's great.
It's so much more fun now.
Let's say there's a creator who's starting out early in their journey or is kind of grinding right now. What's a piece of advice you would give them, knowing what you know now?
I would say, 1, don't give up. I mean, I feel that now still, right? Like, I've been on YouTube for 5 years, and there's people that have been on YouTube for a month and they have 1 million subscribers, right? Like, it kind of. But the biggest thing with that is it doesn't matter how many subscribers you have. If you have a good reason for why you want to reach people, whether that is to entertain or to give information or whatever, it's about those people that are watching you anyway. And then secondly, really don't think that the algorithm is this almighty God that is going to either destroy you or create this awesome kingdom for you, because it is really you and the connection that you have with the people. It's not necessarily an algorithm that makes that happen for you. That's what I would think. I was concentrating on this algorithm for years, and I wasn't able to crack it at all.
Right. No, that's really great advice. I appreciate that. That's awesome. But hey, thank you, Nancy, so much for your time. It really does mean a lot to have you chatting with us. And again, it's been cool seeing the work you put in. I know we went back and forth on that thumbnail for your newest video, and I really love how it turned out as well too. So great job with that. But yeah, thank you so much for your time and all the best moving forward. Take care.
No problem. Thank you.
I love what Nancy said about it doesn't matter about how many subs you have. If you have a real reason of why you're trying to reach people, that's what matters the most. Don't worry about the algorithm. It's about you and the people you're trying to impact. And if you have that same mission, that same heart behind your channel about wanting to impact people, we'd love to rally alongside of you and help you achieve that in any capacity. So if you really are interested in working with us and seeing what that might look like, go to videocreators.com/discovery call and book a 15-minute free session there. So I was thinking the other day, I hear a lot from creators this idea of like, I'm not good enough, or will someone ever buy from me, or why would someone watch my channel or ever take me seriously on YouTube? And it got me thinking about a lot of the imposter syndrome we face as creators as we're either starting our channels or starting to grow our channels, and how it can really hold us back from our full potential. And what are some things you guys have heard from clients in the past, and whether in consultations, action plan, whatever that may be, that you feel like has been holding them back from their full potential?
Yeah, I feel like comparison is usually, that's the first thing that comes to mind for me. I think it's just natural to compare to the other creators that are kind of in the same niche as you. There's kind of that fine line of like inspiration and finding inspiration from similar creators, and then the comparison that comes with that can sometimes really deflate you. And I think it can be normal to even see other creators in the space as competitors. So we definitely see that a lot.
Yeah, I feel too, like with the comparison issue, something else, it kind of gets into your psyche a little bit, and I think it can creep into your content to where you're then not your true authentic self, which actually plays into the results even. So I feel like it can be a real double-edged sword when you look a little too much at competitors. I always encourage creators, and I don't know about the two of you, but I always encourage them to keep blinders on, which is hard to do. So I'm not oblivious to that. But if you really truly want to focus, do yourself a favor and put blinders on. Don't look at your competition for a little bit. I'm not saying forever, but for a little bit, right?
Yeah, I'd say too, like with the comparison, I think there can be a comparison in results too. Comparing your results to another similar creator or competitor's results out there. And it's hard when you can't see their analytics. So all you really see is views and a subscribers number, but there's so much that we don't see too. So I totally agree, Ingrid, with what you were saying. I think putting the blinders on and really comparing against yourself when you're evaluating success, like where was I at a month ago compared to where I'm at today? Am I getting results? Am I improving? That should be your kind of barometer for success.
Yeah, it's very easy to just, I feel, say, oh, well, they got this because of this, but you don't ever really know the true story. Did they put money behind some of their views? Were there advertising dollars at play? I mean, there's so many things that can impact, how something blows up and what the full story is. So, always just remind yourself, is this true? Do I know that to be true? And if you can't answer that, you don't have that. But I think that when we have a tendency to look outward, it can really overwhelm us too. So going back to ABCs is what I like to always say. Blinders on.
Yeah,
keep your focus.
That's one thing I try to encourage people a lot too. Is I get like, my friend who's in the same niche is doing this well, or their views are this much, or I don't understand why. And they're constantly, even throughout consultations, bringing that back into the conversation. Like, I just want you to put that on the shelf for a little bit and just focus on what you can control, which is really your own channel, because it's your journey you're focusing on. Yes, they may be doing things that are different, that's beneficial to their channel. Doesn't mean it's going to work for your channel 100% either, because it could be a slightly different audience and that sort of thing. So it's really more, what can you work on right now, whether that be your click-through rate or your retention, and focus on that and focus on your own journey. Because again, it's so much more stressful on myself as a creator to try to compete with people in my niche or alongside of myself than focusing on my slow snowball growth that I'm trying to achieve with my right audience. So I don't have to worry about, okay, well, they're doing this video, I have to do this video too. It's a lot more freeing.
I also feel like comparison can lead to perfectionism as well, because then I find creators have a tendency to do is they become over analytical, as well as doing things like over editing rather than being truly authentic, just really trying to create that flawless thing. That can really, I think, stand in somebody's way as well.
Yeah, I agree. And I think with the over editing too, that can remove some of the personality that comes with it. And it almost, it's a bit of a paradox, I guess, because sometimes leaving those little bits in are the things that really create the connection with your viewers and gets them to come back and stick around.
A lot of times it removes the space, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that sometimes videos need to breathe. I think that we've all gotten into this, and I'm going to use beastification of a video, right? It's so rapid fire and everything has to be so fast paced that you can remove the breath of a video, and like I just did that right now, when you have that space, it allows the viewer to feel it, to process what they're hearing, versus just constant rapid fire of information.
Yeah, I worked with a creator recently that did a lot of over editing in his content and decided, okay, I'm going to take a bit of a breather on this and make videos to the best of my ability, but not try to overproduce them too much. And he put out a video after that, and his comments were on that video, "Oh, this is the best video you've made yet." And it's really showed that, like, okay, the editing isn't necessarily what's making the video great. It's you taking the time to produce a quality story, quality pacing, all that sort of thing to really benefit the viewer. And he just like looked at that and was just like, "Are you kidding? Like, I didn't put as much effort into this in the editing capacity, but it showed to be like, it doesn't have to be perfect for it to perform well and serve your audience."
It doesn't. And if you really want to spend time, rather than spending time over editing, spend time cultivating great ideas. Right? And
That's
your
so true.
your unique perspective, right? It's like, where are you going to spend time to really get the most out of what time you have to put in this? Because imposter syndrome, right? Imposter syndrome, we're really kind of thinking about ourselves when we're thinking of imposter syndrome. And when we look to a lot of our competition and we start to think, well, they're doing this, I need to do this. And then I'm in my head, well, this is really how I would like it, because this is what I'm seeing. But are you feeling it? When you're looking at other things, that I guess that's really where I keep going back to, is what's the emotional connection in it. It's a weird place. It's a weird way to segue back to that. But do you guys get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think it also plays hand in hand too a little bit. Like, I mean, the idea of people over editing their content comes in a place that they really have high expectations for their video. And that's another thing I feel like really holds people back, is they set themselves up. I'm going to make the best video possible. It's going to blow up. I can guarantee it. I feel good about it. And then they put it out and it may not perform as what they expected. And that can be a real, punch to the stomach sometimes for some people. Like, oh, okay, I put all this effort in, and now it makes you like not want to create content anymore. I mean, for anybody who's a creator and you put a video out, which I'm sure all of you have at some point, put a video that's like, okay, this is going to do amazing, and then it might not do what you expect. Overcoming that can be a difficult thing to want to do the next video. So I think putting a video out, knowing that, okay, I'm going to let this do what it does, I'm going to learn from it, but not putting such high expectations on yourself, because that's not fair to you.
Yeah, there's some nuance there, because I think there's value in aiming high and aiming to definitely make it better every time. But as far as how you're evaluating the results after making that piece of content, and then how you respond to it from there, that's kind of the area that I see that could potentially be kind of like the silent killer, or where a lot of imposter syndrome could come in. Because let's say you shoot high on a video and it maybe doesn't go quite as far as you had hoped. If you then immediately go look at the competitors who made maybe a similar type of video and they have way more views, it's just crushing and defeating, and it just makes you want to curl up and not create anymore. But if that's an opportunity to maybe go watch your video again, compete against yourself, take some notes. What do we notice? What could we improve? How can we just make it 1% better the next time that we do it? And then from there, using some of that data, do another video and just make it that much better, can be a really healthy way to still aim high and shoot high, but not be so crushed by these expectations that we're kind of crushed if we don't meet them.
I feel like one of the traps that a lot of creators and clients that we've worked with have fallen into is, well, they have the same audience as mine. Do they really? Sure, they may be a similar audience, and there may be some crossover in people that watch the same content because you might be in the same niche. But this isn't about them. This is about you. This is about you and your audience. So what gift is it that you want to give your audience when you create? What is the why, the intent behind every video? And if you have a flop, really evaluate it. Were you creating that truly for your person, or were you creating it for yourself? Because in my experience, sometimes we have the best intentions, but we want to make the video because we want to make it. And somehow we creep into that. Again, this goes back to kind of like what I was saying with imposter syndrome. Sometimes when we make it too much about ourselves, and we may be doing that unintentionally, but I really evaluate your content. If you're struggling with any of this and you're listening or watching this, look back, truly ask yourself, was I a little too focused on just myself and the thing that I was trying to push out versus the value it really was for the audience? Because I guarantee you the ones that have gone further, you truly approached it thinking about who was watching versus the message you were trying to say. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah, I was just about to say YouTube's such an interesting place because I can really resonate with some of that when you're a creative and you're creating something. Like as a musician, if I create a piece of music, I have so much emotional attachment to that thing. And I think the same can happen on YouTube when you pour your blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, and then it's kind of your baby when you put it out. But you're giving it to an audience, like remembering that and coming back. It all comes back to target audience, right? It's,
Always.
Who are we giving this to? What's the value that they're going to receive? And if that's kind of the lens that we're looking from, and kind of removing that emotional attachment that we have, maybe opening our closed fist a little bit more and giving this thing to our audience, it's a lot easier to kind of be not so affected by potentially the results of that video.
I have a question for you both then too, kind of around that idea. One thing I've heard, over the years of kind of being in the YouTube world is the idea of doing a one for them, one for me kind of mindset when it comes to content. What are your thoughts around that? So some people I've heard, like creators wise, they're like, okay, I want to serve my audience, but they get to a point where they're like, okay, I want to create something that I want to create sometime. It kind of fills me at the same time. So I've heard this one for me, one for them mindset from a few different people. What are your thoughts around that?
I'm not opposed to that. I don't know if I would do one and one though. Maybe I would do 3 for them, 1 for me. But at the same time though, with the caveat to not have those massive expectations.
Yeah.
On that, I think that it's important to kind of keep that in check. And it's just like, when you make community content, right? You're making this to help grow the know, like, and trust factor. And for those of you who are hiding behind, I'm not going to make community content. Yes, I'm calling you out here. Everybody needs to make community content. 25% of what you're putting out there should be community content. But it's not, does it go as far, guys?
Yeah. No.
Nope.
No. It
Not
can.
usually. It can, yeah.
It can, but generally no, right? Because we're not creating it for non-subscribers. So I would also remember that the intent behind that one video that you're making for you is for you. So don't expect it to go viral. Yeah,
this makes me think of that that quote. I can't remember who the guest was on the podcast a little while back when it was about value proposition, and it's it's not just what you do. It's not even just why you do what you do, but it's what is it? It's why you do it the way that you do it. And I think that's
Tamara.
Yeah, that's
Tamsin?
right. Yep. Yeah. And that was mind blowing because it's so true. It is, it's not just the thing that we're giving our audience, but they're coming back because of the way that we do it. And so if that question comes up of, well, I'm getting kind of burnt out, or I'm getting kind of tired of making the same type of content, like, can I just make some content for me? I would almost want to peel back the layers of that some more as far as, well, why are we feeling that way? Is it time for version 2.0? Maybe can we evaluate our value proposition and see, does this need to have a tune-up? Kind of like, it makes me think of the bands that you hear of all the time who are like, I'm so sick of playing our one-hit wonder for 20 years kind of a thing. No wonder they want to create for them too. And you still can do that and create for your audience and hold both of those things together. But hearing that, I would kind of want to dig a little bit deeper into that. Yeah.
On that note, a little bit actually too, just kind of encourage everyone listening. One thing I try to remind creators as we work through target audience value proposition is like, this is something that can change and can be malleable. Don't feel like it's set in stone. as you evolve, it can evolve as well too. Don't feel like it's something that's put you in a box. That as long as it makes sense to kind of transition things a long time, that's totally fine, because you don't want to get yourself into a box where you start, not enjoying your content anymore, because that will show in your content too, and your audience will resonate
totally
at that same time. So remember that you can play with these things as you figure out who your audience is more, the direction you really want to go. Like, it's totally there to serve your audience and in the long run, but it's okay to experiment along the way.
Yeah. And I feel like another thing that holds creators back too is the fear of failure, or the fear of success as well, on the flip side of that.
Yeah.
And also negative comments. Cause I've seen, I'll say, the damage that one video that gets maybe some negative feedback in the comments can really wreak havoc on a creator. And that kind of, I guess, chips at you a little bit for the next one. So we have to almost kind of get a little bit more tough skin too, and just realize people are very powerful behind a keyboard, right? Where they don't have to talk to you directly. But I wouldn't necessarily let that be the thing that really prevents you from moving forward. This all goes back to target audience. Why are you making this? What's their struggle? Keep that as your driver versus some of the little influences that can really beat you down. I don't know. What other kinds of things when it comes to comments do you guys think of?
I just think it's, what's interesting in the human mind is, like, we can get a list of comments all being positive, and then we see the one negative comment, and that's what just sticks in our minds.
Completely. Yes. Ignoring the 99 others.
Yeah.
You're focusing on the one, right?
Something I do, and Sam knows this as well too, is for when I get negative comments on my videos, for fun, I'll just pin them to the top, just because I'm like, you know what, I'm going to post it there. So
I love that.
Sometimes my audience will jump in and comment back for it, like kind of comment against what they're saying. But I just think it's fun. Or I'll like put a nice comment back to them. And I don't know, it just makes me feel better. I kind of get a bit of a laugh out of it. But yeah, I'll always pin it to the top as the top comment, and then just see what happens. But makes me a little bit more comfortable with comments.
It's funny because I actually usually will respond as well. I'll respond in a completely professional way, very even keel. I've turned negative comments into positive before. Not all of them stay that way. I've been called a capitalist before in a comment. I was like, that's kind of rude.
Oh, yeah.
But, hey, that's fine. I'm allowed to be, I think the thing that can be a slippery slope, though, is when we let that really, really seep in and take over all the good that you're doing. Like you said, there's so many positive comments, and I know that it's easier said than done, but just keep looking forward, right?
Yeah, I would say too, what comes to mind for me, it's almost like a primal branding kind of thing between like our believers and our non-believers. And so when you see the negative comments, I see it from that frame of like, I have non-believers here. This is actually a good indicator that I'm polarizing enough to make someone feel like this is not for me. That's actually like a really good sign, especially too if you start to see a bit of like a comment war, like what Blake was talking about, the people who are the believers who come to fight on your behalf, and kind of, I'm not saying that we should fight people, but that's a good indicator when you get your audience to stand behind you. It's a good indicator. So I see it that way too.
And I'll take this opportunity yet again to say this is a direct result of leaning into community content.
Yeah.
Right? Growing the know, like, and trust factor helps to solidify your tribe, so that if this is something that you struggle with, when you do have non-believers, your tribe will show up, which is just about the most awesome thing to see in the comment section.
100%. Yeah. I guess, looking at all these different things that kind of add to imposter syndrome, what are some ways you guys would give feedback to creators to kind of overcome it? What are some practical things they can do?
Yeah, well, maybe on the topic of community content, I think if that's not something you're incorporating, I would recommend starting there. And that is such a broad thing to recommend. I'm not even just talking about community videos, but even some of the little, we were talking about editing before. What are some of the little pieces of, maybe you're a cooking channel and you accidentally dropped the tomato you're cooking, or maybe, and you said something funny when that happened, like there's a little mistake you made. Leaving some of those moments in that make you feel more relatable just makes it that much easier for somebody watching to feel compelled to comment or feel like, you know what, I kind of like this person. Let me watch another video. And then before you know it, they have become a part of your community. So I think incorporating some of those things can really help too, to kind of have that stick factor, I guess, of getting people to stick around. But I think there's kind of a lot of different ways that you can overcome some of that imposter syndrome. That's kind of one of the first things that comes to mind for me.
Yeah, for sure. I think also as well to the idea of changing your perspective, because I feel like the idea of watching the numbers go up, the views go up, the subscribers go up, we focus so much on the number rather than the people behind that number too. So I think that the healthy perspective is like, I get 100 views on a video or even like a live stream, because some people are afraid to do live streams. It's like, well, no one's going to show up. I might get 5 people. It's like, cool, that's 5 people of your community that's going to show up. That could be really invested. So just the idea of just shifting your perspective of the number being a person can help you think, okay, I'm actually making an impact here, because realistically, I'd much rather, make a world of a difference to one person, than, trying to reach 2 million people that don't totally care in the long run, maybe in some ways. So looking at your metrics as people that rather than just the numbers itself.
Yeah, that's such a good reminder, because when I look at the views, I try to remember that every view is a one-on-one experience, and it's not just kind of presenting almost like a movie theater, like our video is just being shown to all these people all at the same time. Like it's a one-on-one experience every single time. So I think of that when I look at some of the metrics, like the views, even the comments too. It's like every single one of these was an individual. And if we're really prioritizing our target audience, like these are the right people showing up, and that's a big deal. Like it really kind of turns it away from the focus being on ourselves and the views that we're getting, but on the actual people that are showing up.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with creators who've had smaller channels, but like they've had highly engaged communities. I'm like, that's a win to me. I'd much rather have that 50,000 channel than with 20,000, 30,000 people being engaged than have a 2 million channel that's having 10,000 people engaged. Like I've seen live streams that are thriving on smaller channels, and like that's the most important factor, is that you have a strong community there. And when it comes to your business in the long run, I mean, that trust factor is there, especially when it comes to selling your product or course. I mean, people are going to be more willing to buy from you in that sort of scenario as well too, because they are really invested in who you are.
I feel like a lot of this goes back to what's your goal, right? Because it's very easy to say, hey, Jimmy gets 100 million views, or, this person gets 1 million views. This person has this person has that. But what's your goal on your channel, right? Maybe it is like you were talking about, to sell something. I would much rather have a smaller, super engaged audience, because they're going to buy, than a big audience that isn't really there. It's really more of a broader reach. And maybe you have a smaller niche, because there are a lot of niches on YouTube. Not everyone is broad. Not every channel is meant to be a 1 million+ subscriber channel. Sometimes top dog in a niche is 50K. So I think kind of keeping things in perspective with the right context is really important as well.
Yeah, that's such a good question of like, what is the goal? How do we define that? And I want to dissuade somebody from setting their goal as like a subscriber number, because that, even like a view count number, is really a result and kind of out of our control. So I think just picking one thing at a time to focus on and choosing that thing that we have some control over, maybe that's the click-through rate, maybe it's a part of our retention. Maybe we notice that everybody leaves. We've got 80% of people leaving in the first 15 seconds. That might be an opportunity to say, okay, for the next month, I'm going to really work on my opening hooks. And my goal is to see my retention graph in the opening 15 seconds up higher. I think something like that, which could lead to higher views, more subscribers, that kind of thing, can be a lot more empowering too, because it's just, we can kind of measure that and focus on some things that are a bit more attainable. So that can also help kind of add some fuel to keep us going. And that kind of comes back to the competing against ourselves thing too, because if we can sit there and actually look at data and numbers and these individual needles that we can kind of push forward in the right direction, that sort of thing can really help with some of that momentum that we're building, because really it's a skill. I mean, like a lot of this stuff that we talk about, storytelling, even some of the primal branding and community elements, discoverable elements, titles and thumbnails, a lot of this stuff is a muscle that we're growing and flexing and working out as we continue to go and go and go. It doesn't all happen overnight and just become amazing. Unless you're super talented, maybe that does happen for you. But for most people, it is one of these, just let's focus on one thing at a time, let's improve it, and then let's kind of keep that momentum going from there.
Yeah, I think that's really important for everyone, is the idea of like, you will not be perfect at all of this all the time. I mean, even the biggest creators will still say they sometimes struggle with thumbnails. So the pressure you put on yourself to tell the best story, the best thumbnail, the best retention, like there's a lot of skills to implement there. There's a whole tool belt of skills we're pulling on, and some of them might be your strengths and some of them might not be, and it's okay. I think that's what makes you unique. And focus on one thing at a time. I think, again, the idea of analysis paralysis, and we get from a lot of clients we work with, is like, I don't know where to start. We've talked about so much, there's so much to implement. Start where you can. Pick one thing, work on that until you're happy with it, move to the next. This will not be an overnight thing for some people. It doesn't come natural for some people. It's like you said, it's a muscle. Storytelling can be, at first a very difficult thing to kind of implement or understand, but the more you do it, the more you understand how to implement that even to your own content. So I think being patient with yourself in that regard too, I think take that pressure off your shoulders of like, I have to be perfect right off the bat. It's like, no, if it takes you a year or 2 years to really start get your footing in these things, that's great. That's progress for you. That's putting the blinders on, and that's focusing on what you can control.
What you just heard was Blake giving you permission to take time getting there, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like and I absolutely agree with what you just said, Blake. And I feel like it's so important. So important. Another tool that you can give yourself, in your creator tool belt really is embracing a failing forward mentality. Yeah. Just really learning, learning from the mistakes, and it's not that we're trying to make mistakes, but when you shoot, edit, and put out 100 pieces of content, I guarantee you most of them are going to fail. Not a bad thing, because every single one, there's a lesson. And when you remove yourself from a little bit of time, because we're way too close to content when we first put it out. A month later, you're not as close. And you can really realistically look at that and look at that retention graph and really kind of read back, I see why this is dipping. I'm making this all about me because in this moment when I was shooting this, that's all I could think about was the script and how I had to get this out. And maybe somewhere in there is where you start to have those light bulb moments of, okay, so when I'm shooting this, let me really think about that person who I'm talking to as if they're your best friend, right? This totally goes back to target audience. Name that person, imagine them on the other side of the camera. I guarantee you will win way more than you will fail when you do that. But then from there, invite constructive feedback, not from your mom, because she's going to tell you it's great. I can't even ask Michael, guys, because it's just, he's my husband and he loves me and he wants to give me great feedback, but it's not always constructive. So find yourself another creator. create a little mastermind group. There are so many great spaces. vidIQ has has a Discord, right? A free Discord with all sorts of creators in it.
You could also sign up for a free 15-minute discovery call.
Shameless plug to be your friend.
Shameless plug. But there are so many places where you can connect with other creators that are in the YouTube space and invite some constructive feedback. Because from there, that is where you will learn to mold, your voice, your authentic voice in your titles, your thumbnails, your video structure, so that you are winning more in the long run.
Yeah, that's so good. I like to encourage creators to just be a student and never stop. Keep being a student, whether that's studying. And I think kind of the voice that we're trying to have for this podcast is not, don't ever look at other creators. Don't ever watch other creators. I think on the healthy side of things, it can really be a student of other creators, study what they're doing, but then from there, how are we repurposing that and doing this is why we do what we do, the way that we do it? What is that unique voice that we're going to add to it? So really studying your own content too, and improving from that too can be really life-giving as well.
I love how you just put that, Sam, because it's really an important distinction too. It's what's the pattern that's going on somebody else's channel, or what's the thing that's happening in their video, not comparing it to yourself.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Being a student of the process, being a student of the art because let's be honest, editing is a real art form.
It is.
Making a video just top to bottom, thumbnail, all of it is an art form. Be a student of that. The best authors read the most books. We say it all the time. The best YouTubers watch the most YouTube. But there's a danger when you start to compare to you, and that's where imposter syndrome starts to rear its ugly head.
Yeah, so one thing to kind of pull on, you mentioned, Ingrid, a little bit about, you will have videos that are failures as well. I get a lot of clients who, should I go back and delete these videos? Should I go back and change the title and thumbnails? I'm always an advocate of no, leave it the way it is.
Leave it.
What I love the most about any creator on YouTube that I follow, and now that they're bringing it back, which is sorting by oldest, which I'm super happy about, watching that journey, your channel is a story in itself to watch where you started to where you are now. And some of the channels that I love watching the most, I watched the progression in editing styles and backdrops and just everything across the board. And going back to that very first video that might have nothing to do with the channel whatsoever. It's always really fun to see, and sometimes those videos, especially for example, I think of MKBHD, his first video was a golfing video with him golfing. Has nothing to do with tech at all. It has great views, but everyone loves going back and being a part of that story. It's oh, cool, look where he started, look to where he is now. That's a huge thing for yourself to look back. And as yourself, to encourage yourself as a creator moving forward, going back and looking at your content. Cool, look where I was a year ago, look where I am now. Never thought I'd be this far. It's encouraging, and that really helps kind of, I think, alleviate the imposter syndrome, because you're okay, cool, I'm actually have evidence of that I'm improving.
Yeah. It's almost like the channel badge of honor, right? You have to kind of embrace that a little bit. I agree with you, and I'm so glad they brought back viewing from the oldest, because I'm one of those people that loves to see where people came from. There's a story there. Yeah. And your audience wants to see that. Don't ever be afraid of that.
For sure. Yeah. So how do you guys think overcoming imposter syndrome can lead to growth and success on the platform?
To me, success, when I hear that, I think long-term success. I think it can be really easy to kind of get these spurts of motivation and, oh yeah, I'm going to create these videos and I want to be just like so-and-so, and I'm going to make some videos. And then maybe even you get a couple of videos that do pretty well, but you're constantly kind of evaluating against, if I keep making videos at this rate that are doing this well, I can reach so-and-so other creator in a month. And that's kind of like where your mile marker is set. And then and again, I agree, Ingrid, with what you were saying, as far as it is kind of a journey of failing forward every time. So maybe that doesn't happen for the next couple of videos, and to not let that crush you. I think a lot of the things that we've been talking about today, to kind of instill that and then take that with you as you continue failing forward. And, doing that, I think, can really help with the long-term success, and then kind of like your long-term mental health as well. So you don't burn out and quit, because imposter syndrome is really a real thing. But I think there's a lot of things we can do also to combat that.
Yeah, and imposter syndrome can creep up whether you're a brand new creator or you have 1 million subscribers. The bigger you get, the more you start to think.
I was going to say probably more, actually.
Probably more so with the larger channels that are listening. Yeah. So it is definitely a real thing. But be graceful with yourself, when you're in that moment. Just remember, just like I always tell myself, I'm the expert, right? When I'm talking to somebody, they're here for a reason. People are watching you for a reason. Right? They're here to see you. When you get in your own way with imposter syndrome, you can really impede having that authentic connection with your audience. So when you overcome that, the growth that you can have and the success on the platform is really building a strong connection, a deep connection with your audience, to where they're showing up. Again, I'm going to lean into it. Community content. Show up in community content, live stream, do Q&As, be on your community tab. Your community tab is an excellent place. If you're nervous about making community videos, community content, be active there. I did not give you a pass, by the way. Do not hear that at all. I did not give you a pass from not making a community video. But when you do that, your audience, they're really going to feel valued, and they're a part of something. And I just know from my own experiences, those creators that are consistent with maybe making a community post, I always respond in those communities. I am an active participant. Any poll, no matter what's going on, I always read. I always look at the pictures. I enjoy them. And it makes me go back to their channel, right? And so now I'm a part of something. And that is where it leads to growth, because when they put a video out, I'm commenting, I'm liking, I'm definitely subscribed. They've done the work in building the know, like, and trust factor with me.
Yeah, I think it goes alongside with the idea of taking risks and experimenting too. So when it comes to the community content, taking the pressure off of your imposter syndrome, you can be a little bit more open, be more willing to make those community videos that are a bit more vulnerable about you, letting people get to know who you are. But that's taking a risk in itself. That's you exploring outside of the box you're putting yourself, thinking, I have to make videos like this, edit this certain way, make it look like this channel. It's like, no, taking those risks, experimenting outside of that box, figuring out your voice, your audience, understanding that the imposter syndrome will hold you from that, embracing that those opportunities are there. I think can really help, your potential when it comes to reaching the right audience and growing that right community.
I have a question for you guys. What are some of the primal branding type things that people can do to help with authenticity, showing up in an authentic way?
I feel like creeds really go a long way, and that's a really good way to distinct, this is who I am and this is who I'm not. And so it makes it really easy for the audience watching to either, they're faced with that split second decision or thought of, do I believe that too or not? And the strongest communities revolve around some sort of shared belief. And so when I say creeds, I don't necessarily mean you have to have these like super deep, really personal things. You can, if that's part of your niche, and you kind of look through the filter of, does this serve my target audience? Does this line up with my value proposition? Let's go for it. Maybe you have a good opportunity to like really connect with your audience there. You can have really goofy creeds that are lighthearted, but I think the second you can say, I believe X, I believe Chick-fil-A is the best fast food restaurant, there are going to be viewers who are going to be like, yes, I totally agree with Sam. And then others who are like, no.
I do not agree with you, Sam, on that.
There you go. Now there's a conversation happening, and you probably know me a little bit better. And it took me a second. It's a sentence for me to put into my content. So I think creeds are a really great first step.
Just so you all know, Sam puts Chick-fil-A sauce on literally everything. That's
a lie. I'm not a psychopath, okay? I use Chick-fil-A sauce for my chicken. I have tried it with burgers before, and it wasn't really my thing. So,
what about ice cream?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think for me, one of the promo branding elements that I love the most are the creation story. And I just think in context of like, I'm a super big like superhero nerd, and I love superhero stories about how they started doing like being a hero.
Yeah.
And I think, first of all, it's relatable because I think of Spider-Man being my favorite
hero.
Example. Spider-Man is like, he was this kind of outcast, didn't have many friends, but now to where he is now is just being a hero, kind of showing how that began, how that started, and showing that transformation of realizing, okay, he has something he can offer to the world. Same idea as you as YouTube. Like you're starting off as somebody who has an idea of a message or something you want to impact the world with on your channel. Something in your world happened to create this desire, create who you are, to push you towards creating your channel. I love hearing about that. I think for me, the most fun is hearing that either in a video or a trailer, that story, because it then breaks down that fourth wall of like, okay, this is someone who's an authority to like, oh, this is a real person who's gone through something similar as me, who has grown because of it, who understands me. And now I feel like I connect with them on a deeper level. And that's super impactful. One of my favorite exercises we do in video creators is getting people to tell their one-off stories. I learned so much about that person in about 2 minutes than I will working with them sometimes for a month or 3 months, because I'm just like, there's things they express that I never knew about. I'm like, okay, now your channel makes total sense. Your audience makes total sense. It opens up the door for so many opportunities.
So make it practical for everybody listening here, Blake. Tell them a little bit more about that so that the audience has homework.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about community content. A community content video can literally just be you talking about your story. Talk about why you started your channel. Talk about the things you went through to get to where you are now. It can be a one-off video. It could be through a live stream. You could be hanging out with your audience, talking through your story, relating with them, using parts of your story to illustrate the points you're trying to teach to your audience. Even a channel trailer. I think a channel trailer is a fantastic place. It's their first really interaction with you when they land on your channel. Again, not a long trailer, like 60 seconds, but that first 10, 15, 20 seconds can be your story about who you are, why you started. But it gives me the entire context of why this channel exists to begin with and why you care about it and why I should support that in the long run. I think the real thing we're trying to pull at is if you recognize and deal with imposter syndrome, you can really boost your confidence and grow your channel in a healthier way. Focusing on your own strengths and setting your own achievable goals, you can beat imposter syndrome and find success in your YouTube journey along the way. Every week, we love to leave you with a power tip, something that YouTube is doing that's brand new or something that you can use on your channel to kind of push the momentum forward. And this week, I want to talk a bit about community posts. It used to be the case that community posts, you only had access to it if you had 500 subscribers. That is no longer the case. You can now access it at any point by going through YouTube Studio, your settings, channel, feature eligibility, and then opt into advanced features. And then you can access to community tab, post polls, post questions, and really engage with your audience on an authentic way.
I love that because you know what? Since they're getting rid of YouTube stories, community posts are even bigger. They have an even bigger impact that they can make on your audience. And so I love that they've stripped away the threshold that people need to have to access that.
Yes. So, and as a side note too, like really using your community posts, like your tab as you would social media, post about you. Could be what you're doing in your day. It could be something that you've learned this week. open-ended questions to chat with your audience about what they're dealing with. It's a really great place to engage with your audience so they can even be discovered on their homepage as well and browse. Thanks for listening to another Video Creators podcast. See you next week. Bye.